Hello and welcome to this episode of Stories That Shape Us. My name is Joanna Danielle. We are continuing the conversation around spiritual abuse. And today I want to talk about just some of the things that makes a relationship, a space abusive. So I'll talk about teachers, leaders that manage and control the space where they have to have ultimate control. So leaders that needs ultimate authority, right? Now, there's a reason why people need ultimate authority. Some they're leaders who tell you what to do, when to do it, who to date, how to date, and all of these things. Now, nothing's wrong with getting advice from your leaders if you want it, if you've asked for it, if you invite it, if you're okay with it. If it's not done in a dictatorial way where you are not allowed to have an opinion or to challenge or to have a different or to have your own ideas, right? If you have to do this way, right? That's when we run into trouble. That's when we run into problems. And one of the things that we have to be aware of is that we are humans and that we make mistakes and that it's okay, it should be okay for us to be told, for us to be able to be challenged. I think people, one of the beautiful signs of leadership is people who are able to allow themselves to be challenged without becoming without any pushback, without becoming defensive. If you can sit and listen to the challenge, sometimes they will pretend to listen to the challenge and not become defensive, but behind the scenes they start campaigning against you to rip your character to bits. They started spreading gossip and lies and suggestions that they say to the right people, twisted things to get people, to get you isolated, right? So while they might try to speak to you as if everything is fine, when you're gone, when you're not there, then the campaign of hate will start. And because it's, a suggestion here, a suggestion there, a lie to this person and a lie to the next one, and let the people who they know will do their work, then before you know it, nobody can really say they did it because they just made some suggestions to people. But the right words, the well-placed suggestions with the right people who they know will spread gossip about you. All because they're bitter, all because they're angry, and because they're not mature enough, neither spiritually or mature or emotionally mature enough to say I was offended or to say I felt hurt or to be honest with what they feel. So they'll pretend like they're okay and then they'll start the campaign of hate against you. So, what's spiritual abuse? What does that look like? I've been talking about it all week. And so, it's when an individual or a group engage in behavior that is manipulating and controlling of others. And this is in a faith context, right? So, when an individual or group engage in behavior that is manipulative and controlling in your church. So, if anybody in your church engages in this behavior, that's what they're doing. They're harmful. If it's your leader, if it's your elder, if it's your pastor's wife, if it's your pastor, whoever's doing it, it's still the same thing. And it's particularly harmful when it's people with a spiritual authority. So you give them authority by voting for them, by maybe depending on how your church is structured, the conference may send a pastor and they're in charge, they're leading. And I know some might hear this in a way that is defensive. And I think if you know that you're not spiritually abusive and if you're not harming anyone, then you don't need to be defensive. But if you know that you are, you can see yourself in the behavior that is being outlined. And I think it's what is right and good is that you find a space for quiet reflection. It might mean that you need to go to therapy because there's a reason why you're doing it and that those underlying reasons need to heal. So what we don't want to do is to hide behind the Bible and say, I'm praying about it and I'll fast and say, pastor's under attack. Please pray for me. No, take ownership of the behavior. There's a reason why you're doing the things that you're doing. There's a reason why you manipulate and control. There's a reason why you use coercive behavior. There's a reason why you guilt and shame people. And you need to be praying in a way that you can hear God. so that he can tell you what to do. If you're a leader, a pastor, an elder, or anybody in authority who struggles to let anybody who you feel is beneath you, meaning the people who you're leading, if you struggle to hear from the people who you're leading, then there's an issue. Something is causing that. Something is causing you to not be able to listen. And so it's really your responsibility to go find out what that thing is so that you can make changes, so that you can be a safe person for the congregation that you're leading, so that you can be a safe person for the ministry that you're leading. It's really important that you take some time to reflect. And here's the thing that is vulnerable, but also very necessary, that every now and again you ask your people that you're leading, how am I doing? Ask the children, ask the teens, ask the young adults, ask the older folks, ask people, how are you doing? Make it anonymous. You might have to sit with your therapist while you go through the questionnaire and the evaluation, but it's really important that people are able to give honest feedback. You know, I've seen feedback asked for, and it's, 12 people on a board and one feedback must go. Like, it won't be reflective of my thoughts about the situation. I want to give feedback that is constructive, that is encouraging, but that is also honest. And so make space to get honest feedback. We can't only have Pastor's Appreciation Day, but we can't give honest evaluation for him to, or for them to look at themselves and to begin to look at the things that are necessary to change. It's absolutely impossible that we don't have growth areas. We all have growth areas. And if you struggle to hear your growth area, then something is wrong. And if you're in a church, or if you're a church that cannot give feedback that is going to be constructive and help growth, then something is wrong. Why is it that you can't give that kind of feedback? What will happen if you do give the feedback? Why is it that you think it's not necessary? It's necessary. We all are growing, and it's all important for us to understand the areas that we could do with help in as leaders. Because I don't believe that, and I said this on this podcast before, I don't believe that not everybody, because you have a title, that means you're a leader. Sometimes leaders are not born. We learn how to be good leaders. And so it's important, if you have a role, that you take the time to do that. Now, if you're in a congregation where the Bible is used to tell you how to live your life, and you're not free to hear God for yourself, then you might be under a leader who also don't understand themselves, who are using manipulative tactics to control you. If you're not able to give on feedback, as I was just saying, if you've never been asked, how am I doing? If only some people are asked, if somebody can come and serve at your church for 5 years, but you're never able to have a conversation with them, or you're never able to um to to make suggestions or to be heard. And I always wonder about leadership like that in a church setting, because I'm thinking a pastor means, like, you have care for the flock. If you're a leader, if you're anybody in authority, you are like the shepherd. And I'm thinking, will the shepherd have sheep that they never really see, that they never attend to, that they don't know what's going on with no, right? So there's so many things that is involved in good and positive leadership. And while we're never 100, we're always growing and we're learning, and there's always room for improvement and expansion. But, give yourself permission to do that kind of work. And I would think about, why is it that I struggle to hear it, right? So I intended for this one to be talking to people who have leaders with ultimate authority. And it kind of is going the direction of talking to you as a leader. If you struggle with sharing power, if you struggle with delegating, if you micromanage, if you struggle with hearing feedback, and those kind of areas of struggle, if you have those areas of struggle, then there's clearly a problem. And I believe that God grace is sufficient for that as well. We have to take responsibility for the things that we've done. If you're in a congregation with a leader like that, then something is definitely wrong, and you might need to access support from somewhere else so that you can start to heal. You can start the work of healing. But whatever you do, keep yourself safe, protect yourself. Don't try not to offer, I was going to say, try not to offer suggestion because, or book a one-to-one meeting. Just keeping yourself safe means knowing who your leader is, understanding their temperament and character, and protect yourself if you know that you might be vulnerable to harm by them. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Stories That Shape Us. I hope you'll join me on the next story.